all the ways to watch. It's time for Straight Talk Wireless, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Now, one thing we've got to hit here is the NBA's best insider, Woj. He'll join us a little bit later this morning. He took us inside the Lakers and the Clippers' informal plans about what might happen next, even though it appears publicly that most of the other teams in the league are ready to go. LA apparently are not.
There was some polling in that meeting. This was an emotional meeting. And listen, there are a lot of perspectives on what the right course of action is. I was told that the Lakers, the Clippers, essentially in an informal poll said they were willing to end the season. These are obviously two teams who believe that they have a chance to win a championship. But I was told by a high-ranking source in the meeting that this conversation is going to continue into tomorrow, that certainly players, everybody in the league is in a heightened emotional place right now, that no decision has been made about how the league will go forward. I am told that it appears unlikely that the 3 playoff games scheduled for Thursday here in Orlando will be played. But the league has yet to announce that they are postponed. But I'm told that these discussions are going to continue.
Now, I would mention when Woj said tomorrow, he was on SportsCenter last night, so he's obviously talking about today in lockstep with Jay's comments that are potentially not going to have any games today. There is a Board of Governors meeting a little bit later today where we'll know a little bit more. And obviously, if we hear about it, since the 3 games are on ESPN, if we happen to hear something, we'll pass it on to you immediately because I know you want to have this information as quickly as we do. We will talk to Quentin Richardson, who played for the Clippers, the Knicks, the Magic, the Suns, and the Heat, for his perspective as a former player on what the current guys are doing. That's coming up in 10 minutes. Okay.
And Q Rich is from Chicago, so he can give us insight on things happening in Chicago and ultimately how he views that perspective as well.
Absolutely. Look forward to that. He'll join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line at 6:30. Okay, Lakers, Clippers had their piece. You heard Woj. What do you think?
Well, look, it brings me back to when LeBron James came to the podium with the Malcolm X book. And people started saying, what's this about? Being more informed with how to lead. The polling really suggests to me that they are leaning in the direction of not playing. The fact that the Lakers and the Clippers decided to walk out of the room after it was over. I said it yesterday, and I will stand with it, that LeBron James, regardless of whether people like him or not, from both sides of the party here, is the Muhammad Ali of the NBA. He is the Jim Brown of the NBA. And ultimately, if LeBron James is willing to walk away from the game, having the best odds of winning a championship, then that will set the tone for the rest of the league.
It's interesting being from LA, right? And you got both of these teams not only on the court, but off the court with a lot of muscle and a lot of power. Whether it's Jeannie Buss and the Buss family or whether it's Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, it's a lot of power to get things done. Then you probably got 4 of the top 10 NBA players on these 2 teams.
Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony Davis, LeBron.
Exactly. So you look at that, that's a lot of power on the court to get things done. Much like Jay is saying about LeBron, as I said yesterday, he's the one guy that we all look up to see what he could do, how he could deliver that message.
What did Pat Beverly say? If the king ain't playing, we ain't playing.
By the way,
right?
Udonis Haslem even said it yesterday.
Yeah.
He plays for the Miami Heat legend, won a championship with D. Wade and LeBron.
Yep.
He said, if the Lakers and the Clippers aren't playing, it's not a legitimate championship. It's not.
People want to see that. They don't want to see all the others. They want to see that. They want to see the Lakers and the Clippers.
What about Jay's point? I think this is such an instructive point that Jay brought up. This could be LeBron's last best chance to get a title, chasing Michael, the whole thing, going to LA in the year Kobe died. I mean, you know the area well. That's such a great point that he brings up, what he could be leaving on the table.
And that's okay, though, because that's who LeBron is. He's not concerned as much as people are fascinated with what you just said.
Yeah.
This is bigger than that championship. He's already won. He's already been MVP. He's already made his money. This is bigger than a championship run. Clearly, Steve Ballmer, Jeannie Buss, the Lakers and the Clippers, Doc Rivers, they know this. And when you think about it, LeBron, get out the vote initiative, the Dodgers align themselves with him and his crew. That's important to him. And people should respect that and hold that to high regard. I would be shocked. If LeBron season trying to chase a championship. I would be shocked.
I'm with you, Key.
I totally would be shocked. And not shocked to the point where, you know, it's like he wants the championship bad. I would be shocked because I believe, knowing him and his crew, that what's going on in our country is more important to him than getting another ring.
That ultimate sacrifice, I found myself doing this over the last couple of months. And I've seen players on their shoes have this acronym. It's WWKD. What would Kobe do? And you think about the legacy that Kobe Bryant has had as the ultimate competitor. Think about how LeBron James, the leader of this league, takes over this storied franchise. The ultimate sacrifice, guys, the ultimate sacrifice for the legacy of LeBron James filling those shoes ultimately has to be to stand up for what's right. You know, that old line of, if you show me who you are, eventually I have to believe you. LeBron James has showed us who he's been, Key.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to go back.
It's not going to just change course now all of a sudden.
It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I would be shocked if it did happen. I mean, that means to me, if that was to happen, that means that something was fast-tracked immediately from the NBA and the owners to get something done, what the players want to have done, for him to step back on that court. Just being able to tell him, oh, we're gonna work on it and all that, that's not gonna be enough.
And I know fans are gonna say, well, don't put that kind of pressure on LeBron James. LeBron James' shoulders were built for this weight. From the moment he was born in Akron, Ohio, and everything that he stood for, is it unfair weight? Yes. But is it realistic for him?
But
yes.
I don't even think that it's not weight. See, the weight is not on his shoulders because it doesn't mean anything to him about people pressing him, because he's already been there and done that. He's already accomplished so much. His next goal set out is to accomplish what he's trying to do now. So it's like, okay, if I get to a championship, I get to a championship. But I know one thing that I want to change is I want to change the way this world is thinking and the way things are happening to my people. When he tweeted out what he tweeted out immediately after the Bucks decided to not take the court, that told me right then and there his decision was made. We may not know it because he hasn't verbally said it, but I'm very clear to see that and know, okay, I see what you're saying. I can read through that.
Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. We should keep in mind that LeBron has by far, the biggest social media following of everybody in the 4 major professional sports. On the way, Quentin Ridger
Night. To then all of a sudden say we're just going to come back and play basketball. Now, look, people are going to try to use this against basketball players ultimately by saying, well, you have the China situation, and I didn't see people stand up against China. And I say, well, I'm not focused on China right now. I'm focused on our country, and that's what our NBA players are doing right now. And I think you're going to see NFL players follow suit and align together. And I will say this, yesterday, I was a little bit unsure about whether boycotting was the right answer. I can firmly sit here today on our show and say, I stand with my NBA brothers. I stand with people across this country on sometimes extreme situations call for extreme measures. And we have to push people to create that change as swiftly as possible because enough is enough.
I want to mention this because I'm sitting here with 2 tremendously talented African-American athletes. Key, I want to just get your perspective on this, because when something like this happens that's truly unprecedented, what you really need is some historical perspective. I want you to listen to this. There has never been a professional sports team prior to yesterday. There had never been a professional sports team ever that had refused to play a game due to social injustice. We're talking the 1960s. We're talking Bill Russell. There was one caveat I want to bring forth, because if the Ultimate Champion is listening this morning, I know he was active on Twitter last night. The 1961 Celtics, which Russell was a part of, they did skip an exhibition game in Lexington, Kentucky, because they were not served food at a particular restaurant due to segregation, but 7 guys did play later that night. That was an exhibition game. But in the history of professional team sports in this country, no team had ever said we're not playing due to social injustice, racism, anything until yesterday. A watershed moment, an inflection moment in the history of sports in America.
Clearly, times have changed, right?
No doubt about that.
It's clear, but the players are standing up for what's right. I mean, like Jay was saying, you get tired of being tired. Like it's enough. Like you can't continue to think that we're supposed to entertain you playing basketball and forget about people being gunned down in the streets. No, and it's just, it makes zero sense. And you put that pressure on these owners to put that pressure on their buddies that they writing these checks for in the political circle to pass laws. Now we're going to put that pressure on you to make a decision on going to them and saying, yo, this is affecting me and my family and how we feel about people that work for us. So it's going to work itself out, but it's not going to work itself out overnight. And we must all understand that.
Well, that's where it comes down to, Key, the next step in the evolution of this process, that if the decision is for LeBron James and company to boycott